Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. I'm Moreh Rapha'Yah. We're going to go ahead and start this amazing Parashat Tetzaweh, which means you should command. Now, on this parashat, right off the bat, you need to state that the reason why the Creator does not start with the name of Moshe is because if we understand earlier on the previous Torah portions, Yahweh was very angry with our forefathers when they sinned with the situation with the golden calf. And Moshe, of course, he had it go and mediate for our forefathers in the mountain Sinai up there for 40 days. He said to our forefathers, and it's on the Torah, I'll go up to see if I can actually redeem you, all of you. So when he was up there, Moshe asked the Creator if it was possible to forgive our forefathers. And not only that, to either uh, redeem our forefathers or take him out of the book of life. Yahweh said, I will take people who have sinned out of the book of life. In his case, of course, he's not going to do it. But because he asked for, in this Torah portion, his name is not in it. Okay, it's very amazing how the Creator fulfills what our words say sometimes. He is very powerful. The power of our words are very, very amazing because it takes life for itself. I wonder why the book of Proverbs says that the power of the tongue, the life and death is on the tongue. And there's a reason for it. Let's start off. Parashat Tetzaweh, once again, it starts off in chapter 27, verse 20 and 21 and on, all the way to 30. And let's start off right away. Exodus 27:20, all the way to 30, verse 10. Olev 1 says, You, Tetzaweh, you should command the sons of Israel to take you for a pure crushed oiled olive oil for illumination to light the lamp continuously. Here, there's a lot of things in this verse. The first one is the word Tetzaweh. Tetzaweh is a word that actually means, the root of the word is savah, which means command. That's the word for mizbah. The mizbah, the commandments of Yahweh. That word, the root is savah. So basically, it means to charge, command, order, savah. Let's give an example of this. Exodus 29, verse 35. Meet all of these sabbats or orders that I have given you concerning Aharon and his sons. You will spend 7 days dedicating yourself like kadosh or set apart to them. It's very crucial for us to understand that when the commandment of Yahweh gave to our forefathers, especially when it comes to the priesthood, the Kohanim, or the Kechnot, it's essential for us to know that they needed to follow certain instructions. Fail to do so, it will yield to death. Remember, they were going to enter into the Mishkan, or the set-apart tent, which Yahweh was only allowed those who been purified, and they were allowed to enter into this little place that it wasn't that big, but it was set for, dedicated as kadosh, or set apart for the sons of Israel. Exodus 27:21, Aharon and his sons will put on in the Ohel Moed, or the tent of the assignment, outside the curtain at the front of the testimony, and keep it burning from the evening, that's the word for Ereb, and until dawn, which is the Boker. Before Yahweh, this will be a permanent regulation for all generations to the sons of Israel. Now, it is essential and crucial to us to know how long did the light or lights in plural, burn. Did they burn the entire day on the menorah or the candlesticks or the 7 candlesticks? Or it just burned up to certain hours? Here, it says very clear, and let's go back, that it burned from the evening. That means from the moment that the sun sets, which is around 3 o'clock, until dawn, which is depends on what kind of a time of the year. So that is very crucial for us to know, because once again, remember the cycle of the whole year is 365 days. And let's just break it down into two halves. The first half is the first 6 months, which means is the spring season and the summer season. Usually the daylight are pretty long. Like right now, it's almost diminishing little by little. But when it comes to the other half, which is fall or autumn, all the way to the second season, the fourth season, which is winter, those 2 seasons, the sun will diminish so much that the nights are going to be longer. So the point here that I'm making is that the crushed oil, olive oil, needed to be measured up to a certain point. It needed to be measured, for example, if it was, let's say, 9 hours burning, it needed to be measured for 9 hours. If it was 10 hours, it needed to be measured for 10 hours. Let's say for the equinox on Abib 1-1, it will be exactly 24 hours burning. So it's just an example of how they needed to measure the burning oil, because it wasn't just like today, okay, just put it on and just refill it later. No, it needed to be measured exactly the way it's supposed to for a certain amount of time to be burning. And that was very precise. They were, once again, perfect and professionals on doing all these kind of adjustments. 27 verse 20, take for yourself crushed oil, the olive oil. Now, once again, we need to concentrate what does it mean to be crushed. Let's go into the book of Luke 22:39, and let's just see what's the meaning of it, what's encoded in there. On leaving, Yahushua went to the mountain Olives as usual, and their Talmudim went after him. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because everything revolved into their customs and the way of life on the Western world. I'm sorry about that. On the Eastern world. The Eastern world is so much different from the Western world. And the reason for it is because the way we've been conditioned for so long, we don't understand fully the mind of a Hebrew. That's why I always urge you, all of you brothers and sisters, to changing your mind from the Western Greco world to the Eastern Hebrew world that are in the scriptures, because that way we can get to understand the mind of our forefathers and the way the scriptures was meant to be written. Now, Mashiach in the first century went to the mountains Olives, and it's a very understanding that Israel for a long, long, long time are being the professionals on doing very kosher and virgin oil. I mean, the very pure oil until today. If you didn't know, I think it's a Nazareth, or that's where they make the oil, and they still use stones to crush the olives. I've been in Greece myself, and they also used machinery to make oil. They make it good, don't get me wrong, but the way it's supposed to be made is crushed with 2 stones, and they make it so good, and it's expensive though. In a little tiny little bottle like this, about almost $100, which is very, very expensive. but it's very, very pure. Now, let's find out why the Mashiach went to the Mountain Olives. 26:37, Yahushua went with his Talmidim to the place called Gad Shamanim and said to them, sit here while I go to pray or do tefillah. The question is, why the Mashiach went there and what is the meaning of the connection to it? The word Gad Shemani is basically, is translated to the regular Bibles, quote unquote. The name is Gethsemane, is the Hebrew word for Gad Shemanim, which means oil press. That was the place where they actually did the oil pressing. That's where they crushed the olive oils. But what is the connection between the Mashiach and this? Let's go back over here to the Parashat 27, verse 20. It says here, the lamp. The very end says to the light, ner, which means in Hebrew for lamp, continuously. We have to understand something, brothers and sisters, that the menorah or the seven candlesticks, there's one thing, but the lamp itself is different. That's the one you put on top of it, and there were 7 of them. That's what they needed to put the oil. Now, what is the connection of all this with Mashiach and us? Let's go with it. Isaiah or Isaiah 53 verse 4, in fact, he bore our sickness, our pains which he suffered. However, we consider him punished, beaten, and afflicted by Yahweh Ayil Almighty. Now, beaten is the word for crushed. Our Mashiach was also beaten and crushed for our afflictions, for our sickness, for our sins. The whole world, including most definitely the people of Israel. We have to understand nowadays, this very end of the era, that Mashiach is doing it still unto this day. He's been beaten for us. He's been crushed for our sins. And we need to understand the reason why he came here. Now, the word for ner the word is lamp. Okay, those lamps were like, I'll give an example for it. But let's look. One thing is lamp and the other one is menorah. Shem Tov Matithiyah 5:15. They don't light the lamp or ner to put it in a hidden place where it does not shine, but they will put it where, our brothers and sisters, to the menorah, so that it will give light to all those who in the light on the house. Here, perfect example how Mashiach is giving an example how the lamp itself, where they put the oil, the olive oil, needed to be in a certain place, and he gives an example of the menorah. And let me just show you what I'm talking about. This is basically the lamp where they put the olive oil, the pure crushed olive oil. And this is the menorah where they actually put it right on top of it here. And this, if you notice where the light is pointing at, it needed to be pointed right in the middle, as it is right here on when you see the example of the menorah. That's how it should be. And by the way, the middle lamp, the middle branch is called the shamash. The shamash is basically yielding to the Mashiach. The Mashiach is the shamash. Shamash in Hebrew means servant. Mashiach is the servant of Yahweh. 28:30 of Exodus, you should put a Urim and Tumim and Choshim, or breastplate of judgment, that will be upon Aharon's heart when he enters in the presence of Yahweh. Thus, Aharon, he will always have the means to make decisions for the children of Israel about his heart when he is in the presence of Yahweh. Now, what's the deal with the Urim and Tumim? What was it? What was it used for? And also the Hoshim. What was the breastplate for, too? Three things that are very essential. And it's important for us to know that in this verse that we are reading, in the actual Hebrew, if you go into the actual manuscript in Hebrew, this will be appear before the word Urim, which is the Aleph Tau. And right before the Tumim will be appear the Ot. Ot means a sign or a seal. It's amazing to know that Mashiach, the Aleph Tau, appears here, and he happens to be our sealed to us. Why, brothers and sisters? Is because he's the one making intersection for us. He's the one making mediating for all of us, the Father. No wonder Mashiach said, no one comes to the Father except by me. No wonder why Mashiach is sends the sealed of the Ruach Kodesh, which is the inspiration of Yahweh. He is what is called today the Urim Tumim. And if you notice here, by the way, Urim starts with the word Aleph. And the word Aleph appears here. And the word Tumim starts with the letter Tau. And if you notice here, and also appears here, and we said earlier that these two are sealed to Yahweh. See this? Now it is, once again, we only get to see it if you read it in the Hebrew. Now, let's look into Aleph Tau once again. Aleph starts with the Aleph, and the Tumim starts with the Tau. Urim and Tumim, the meaning of it is illuminator, which is Urim, and Tumim is a verifier. Mashiach is doing the very same thing. Our Mashiach is being our illuminator of Torah. He's the one giving us the strength, the power to do so many things nowadays, brothers. The reason why we don't do that is because we're not exercising our authority. We're not recognizing what is being given to us in Northern Kingdom Ephraim. We are, first of all, we are the firstborn. Second, we have the double portion, the double chodmah, the double understanding of Yahweh through our Mashiach. We must understand this, brothers and sisters. And the reason why we don't recognize it, we don't realize it, is because we keep looking at our Jewish brothers. I know they have to do what they have to do, but we have our own path. We, in the same Torah, as Shaul said, that we both have the same Torah. And we are beloved because of the Torah. But we have a different pattern. And this pattern has to be through our Mashiach. We need to stop looking at our Jewish brothers and being like a parakeet, doing exactly what they're doing and following the same old traditions that no meaning of it, because they're based upon traditions of men in Babylon. And I'm not making it up. Look at the calendar. It says very clear, Babylonian deities and gods and demons. The Torah says very clear, do not mention by your name the name of other demons, Elohim. Yet they're still doing it today. We need to stop looking at men. We need to start looking at Yahweh and our Mashiach. Notice here, the other one is verifier. He is verifying the things that are being written in the Torah. That's why he is the Davar. That's why he is the Amad, the pronunciation of Yahweh. He's the one making sure that what he has spoken, we need to listen. Let's change a different perspective and topic. You notice here, when David went to Goliath, he needed to have an armor, and yet he didn't want the armor that Shaul was giving him. Yet he had the armor that he needed to have, which is the inner. And yet he defied and fought this giant that was 9 feet tall. This is basically the armor of Yahweh. The armor of Yahweh is not something that was making up by anyone. Okay, the armor of Yahweh is basically the what you've been learning for a long time in Torah. What have we been learning for a long time in Torah? How to live a meaningful life, how to have the things of Yahweh Sebaot. Okay, but the problem is, brothers and sisters, is that we keep looking at the things that aren't. We need to look into the Torah itself to look what Yahweh says. Now, what is all this? The armor of Yahweh, we've been telling our brothers and sisters and our forefathers are been telling us, and our forefathers are being passing on this all tradition that is the armor of Yahweh that are a Roman armor. That's not true, brothers and sisters. That's not true. It's never been true. That is being an armor of a soldier, a Roman soldier. That's not it. The Vatican is being using and is being inculcating this word that had nothing to do with the Hebrew. Shaul will never speak about Romans. He will speak to the Romans, but he's not going to speak of Romans, Roman culture. He never will do that. By the way, they hated the culture of the Greeks and Romans. And the reason for it is because remember that one time they went in there and they desecrated the temple, the Mikdash, at one time. And that's what the Hanukkah came about. That's what from that moment on, the southern kingdom, Yehuda, became to hate their culture. And that's what they never speaks about culture, their culture. In Shaul, neither. So the reason why Christians, and even though Messianic speaks about this, is because they not changing their mind. And the real armor of Yahweh is not this one, but rather the one on the right. This is the Kehunah. This is the armor of Yahweh. Okay, this is the armor of Yahweh that we ought to have, that we will talk about in another time more detail. But let's speak about the Choshem, the breastplate. Choshem in the Gematria is 358. 358, if you flip it, those words backwards like this, is going to appear as Mashiach. 358. And it's important because he is our Choshem. He is the breastplate of judgment. He is the one, once again, mediating for the sons of Israel. You understand that? He is the mediator. He's the peretz. He's the bridge. First Thessalonians 5:8. But as we belong to the date, let us remain sober, living with trust and love as a breastplate, and with the hope of salvation as helmet. We understand this, and once again, this has nothing to do with the with the Roman culture. Never was and never will, but rather about the kehunah, the priesthood, which is not the priesthood, the Levin priesthood or the Levites, but rather the Melchizedek priesthood is higher up. It has a higher attributes, and this is the one we are following, the Mashiach's one. Now, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10, you can read the whole chapter. We're just going to read one. Finally, strengthen yourself in Yahweh in the power of his might. We don't realize so much that we have so much to give. We have so much strength. So we have so much power. And you might ask, What are you talking about? What power are you talking about? Remember, Mashiach said to his Talmidim, his disciples, all these signs, all these wonders, all this power that I do, you will do greater. The reason why we don't do that is because, once again, as I stated earlier, we do not exercise what is being given to us. We do not realize what we have in front of us. We have the double portion. We are the firstborn. Remember, Ephraim, the northern kingdom, is the firstborn. Our Jewish brothers are not the firstborn. They do not have the authority. They do not have the scepter, because Mashiach came and took the scepter when he came in the first century. And he's being a fulfillment of the prophecy. So what they don't have is basically Torah. We have the Torah as well, but we have other things, other attributes. Once again, we are the firstborn. We have the double portion of Chotmat, or understanding. That is so much power, brothers and sisters. We need to exercise it. We need to exercise it. And also, we need to acknowledge what Yahweh is being given to through our Mashiach to us. Now, chapter 6, verse 11 of Ephesians, put on the armor of Yahweh Almighty, that you might be able to stand against the wiles of Satan. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against masters of the world, rulers of this darkness, against spiritual malice in the air. All this is what's happening right now, and it has happened in the future. This is going to happen in the past. Once again, we have to understand the era we're living. We are living in the Achari Chayami, which is the last era. We are living in peril times. We are living in times that we do not understand fully, but we can if we study the scriptures. We need to understand how all this works. And the reason why we are so blinded is because we keep looking up Facebook, Rabbi Google, Rabbi YouTube, and all these platforms that are only yielding to people, and also other platforms like movies, right? Netflix, and all these places that are very into anti-Torah. Just look at an example of Netflix. You go there, you're gonna talk about all about witchcraft and stuff, about things that have nothing to do with the Creator, but rather against the Creator and His Torah. So if you don't want to believe me, go in there and find out for yourself. Now, all this is always against us. Satan's always inducing and doing all these things through music as well with the youngsters. And it's all this. He has a lot moving masses from left to right, but we need to be alert. We need to be powerful with the Torah, because Yahweh is giving us this authority. This should be the armor, our armor inside. We need to carry it at all times. Now let's talk about a little bit in just the last 5 minutes. This is the tzitzits. This is the blue cord and also the white cord, the tzitzits. But let's talk about a little bit about the techilet. The techilet is basically the blue cord. Now the dye itself is not the blue cord, but rather the source is somewhere else. Exodus 28 verse 5. They will use gold, techilet, blue thread, purple, scarlet, and fine linen. This is what the Torah speaks about, what it needed to be have in certain things around the Mishkan, or the tent of the meeting. You needed to have purple, you needed to have our scarlet, you needed to have gold, and you need to have something that is needed to have there because of the significance, and there's more to it that I was speaking all the time. Techelet is basically the blue cord. Now, the techelet is not just the cord itself, rather a dye that you could use it for many things, many the linen, right, mantle, curtains. They could have that. But the dye itself, where's it coming from? First, let's talk about comparing something that, once again, Satan has been doing this for a long time. He's the number one pirate that is being pirating everything that Yahweh, that he's copycat everything that Yahweh originally has made. And why am I talking about? All right, let me explain to you Revelation 17, verse 4. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and shone with gold, precious stones, and pearls. This is what the Vatican does today. This is what they fill with riches and gold and silver and everything that you can think of, and precious stones, right? That's how they dress themselves. That's how they carry themselves. That's how their attributes are. That's how they display themselves to the world, to us. And if you notice, the black robes separate them from being the priest of Satan. And so much gold that they have is amazing. But I will state this in a minute. 25 verse 4 talks about the techelet, which is the blue thread, right? The blue dye. And let's talk about what is it? What is it coming from? It's basically a shell that was disappeared in the first century and resurfaced. It was completely gone and disappeared for near 2,000 years and reappeared in 1998. Now, this shell, the secretion of the shell is yellowish, okay? Yellowish. And from that secretion, when you mix it with water, okay, it becomes, if you expose it to the sun, it will become blue. But if you don't expose it to the sun, it will become a different color, which is purple. Okay, this is the way they dye anything. Okay, once again, if you expose it to the sun, it will become blue. But if you don't, it will become purple. 28 verse 2 of Exodus, you should make for yourself, brother Aharon, garments set apart to serve Yahweh, expressing dignity and splendor. This is what the Creator is talking to Moshe and explaining to him that he needed to do these set apart garments, these kadosh garments for Yahweh. And the reason for it is because they were going to be in an area, in a place where Yahweh was going to come down to the Aron, or the ark, and he needed to be purified, perfect, in other words. Otherwise, would not be, we would not make it. We would die. That's why they need to have little bells on the bottom, because if they hear the bells on the moving back and forth, they will knew that he's still alive. But if the certain time pass and the bells are not moving, that means he died. That's the reason for the bells. Brothers and sisters, my name is Moreh Rapha'Yah. Until next time, may Yahweh give you blessings and keep you and give you grace, give you chen until he returns. In the meantime, we need to keep alert for the things that are happening right now, and we need to be alert on learning Torah, because that's basically what the Creator wants from all of us. We'll see you next time, and be alert for new upcoming productions that are coming next week, hopefully, are coming. And brand new, by the way, it has a lot to do with this Torah portion, which is the mystery of the Talit, coming up very, very soon. I'm Moreh Rapha'Yah. We'll see you next time. Shabbat Shalom.